Mr. Desmond Chu.
And 18, please.
Mr. Speaker, the latest US export controls announced on 7th October 2022 are aimed at restricting China's access to specific types of advanced semiconductor chips, especially those with wide application in artificial intelligence and supercomputing. While these measures are not targeted at Singapore, our semiconductor sector could still be impacted since semiconductor supply chains are highly complex and globalized. Now, many semiconductor companies operating in Singapore have manufacturing processes and products that rely on US technology, which may be subject to export controls imposed by the US government. While Singapore and our companies cannot be completely sheltered from geopolitical tensions, we can mitigate the risks by ensuring that we remain a stable, trusted, and well-connected location for companies to do business. We are also working with our companies to strengthen their business continuity plans and to diversify their supply chains. We will also pursue the strategies we announced recently at the launch of our electronics and precision engineering industry transformation maps earlier this week. Now, these include anchoring investments from leading global companies, doubling down on R&D investments in emerging semiconductor technologies, and also deepening our talent pipeline. Now, collectively, these will enhance Singapore's relevance in global semiconductor supply chains and strengthen our resilience against any shocks.
Desmond Chu.
Thank the MOS for his answer. I have two supplementary questions. The first is, does the ministry has at least estimation how much of our semiconductor industry is exposed to this new set of regulations from the United States and therefore affecting the economic performance of the industry? Second, in terms of the various free trade agreements that we have in place, how much have that allowed us and the companies, semiconductor companies situated here, to be able to navigate the changing landscape for semiconductor industries?
I thank the member for his SQ. Well, as I mentioned in my main reply, Singapore is part of the global supply chain of the semiconductor industry. And so many of our companies do rely on US technology as part of their manufacturing processes and operations. And there could thus be some impact on these companies. But we do not have granular information at this stage. However, the situation is constantly evolving, and so we're monitoring it very carefully. And it is equally possible that the US could be contemplating additional steps that may further reshape or affect technology supply chains. Now, our companies will be affected in more or less in certain ways, given that we are part of this global semiconductor supply chain. Prime Minister Lee in Australia recently said this week that these trade restrictions could result in, I quote, a less economic cooperation, less interdependency, less trust, and possibly ultimately a less stable world, which is clearly a clear negative for Singapore. Against this backdrop, it is thus very much more important that we uphold and reiterate our position as a stable, trusted, and well-connected hub and location for businesses, including the semiconductor businesses. I mean, earlier this week, together with DPM Heng, we were at ITAP Asia, where many of the semiconductor companies were there. We launched the industry transformation map to anchor many of their capabilities here. But it's not just the semiconductor companies, but the ecosystem that we are allowing and attracting to be based here in Singapore, diversifying, as you mentioned earlier on, with regards to all of our free trade agreements that we have signed, but effectively making sure that we diversify as much as possible to prevent us from being affected by future shocks that will inevitably arise. Thank you.